In this session, we're going to take a look at some of the extra features or the extra tools built into GeoGebra. Some of these are grouped together under the next to the last icon in default layout. The first of them is the slider. The slider appears right now, and it tells us to click on the drawing pad to specify the position of the slider. So we'll click on the drawing pad, and first of all we're asked what we want here. It could be either a number or an angle. Its name at the moment is going to be A, but it could be just about anything we want. For example, let's suppose that we wanted to use A to be the length, so we'll leave the designation as A. The interval goes from a -5 to a +5 in increments of 1/10. We'll apply that. And now we have a slider, and by itself it does absolutely nothing. However, we are now going to specify a definition, and we'll do that by writing an equation down in our input line. And let's suppose we use the equation y equals ax, I need to put a space in there, plus 3. Now that should be a plain straight line, and it's going through 3. I'm actually going to drag it down perhaps, or let's use one of the other features here. Let's move the whole drawing pad down so we can see that a little bit better. Okay, now there's our line going through 3. That's our intercept point. Now the slider will make sense, because the slider is really determining, I'll move it out to the side here, as we drag the slider, it's going to impact the slope, because we wrote the equation in the form y equals mx plus b, and dragging that slider affects the slope. As long as if we highlight the slider, just click on it once, and now I clicked on it a second time, so I'll click on it. Okay, now it's highlighted. I can now use my arrow keys. Instead of dragging the dot using the mouse or the touchpad, I'm simply hitting on the arrow keys. Put together with other tools, you can create some animations using the arrow keys. Up and down do the same thing as left and right in this particular context. We could create another slider and use it to specify the intercept if we wished. Let's try that. We'll just click, and we'll actually give this a name. Let's call it intercept. Okay, we now have intercept, and it's going to go between -5 and +5. We will apply that, and now there's our intercept slider. I'm just going to put it over to the side here as well. Let's move the whole thing. Okay, it's over to the side. Now, if we drag it, oh, I forgot to redefine the equation. Let me go to the equation. Here it is. I'm going to simply replace 3 with intercept, because that's what we called it. Now, when we drag, we see our intercept is being affected as well. Now, I did not have to write the word intercept. I did it just to illustrate here. It's serving its purpose, whether I call it intercept or B or X or K or whatever I want to use here. I would probably want to avoid using X or Y because they are the variables of the coordinate system. We can even try using both together. What we'll do is, we've got our selector tool. We'll click once on point A and once on point B. Now if I use my arrow keys, let's see what happens. You will notice that the slope is changing and the intercept is changing. So it is possible to have two things acting simultaneously. Now we've got negative slope and negative intercept. Okay, again, that is our slider tool, and it can be applied to virtually anything that we spell out using an equation. Also under that same menu, we have a checkbox to show and hide objects. That one is not necessary very often, but it would be useful on some things that you might want to pre-plan. So let's choose that item. We click, and up comes a menu asking us what it is we want to have displayed. So let's choose the line itself. Caption will be line, and select the objects that we want to affect. We're going to choose the line and apply. Now, when we go back to the selector tool, if we click on line, it disappears. Click again, it comes back. Click, it disappears. Click, it comes back. All this tool does is give us the ability, and we can put it any way we want, to have an object appear or not appear on the screen. When you get a very complicated diagram, usually one that you might prepare in advance, it gives you the ability to have certain things taken out of view temporarily in order to focus on the other parts of a diagram. Our screen is getting a little busy, so let's go to a new window. Also under our same menu, we have the Insert Text feature. Now, Insert Text tells us to click the drawing pad or point to create text. Drawing pad or point. Okay, we're going to create text, and let's just type in a little short phrase here. Text can be displayed. We just type that in and apply it, and there's our text. Using the selector tool or the move tool, we can place that wherever we want. There are some other things you can do with it. For example, tie it to an object so that it moves with another object, which we'll look at later on. Let's try that one more time. Now, this time what we'll use is a demonstration of how you can put in some math formula work. So here's an illustration. Square root. LaTeX formulas, well, there's the square root symbol. We also have cube root, we have fractions, vectors, segments. These are a few of the formulas that are available within the context of our GeoGebra program, summation function. Okay, we wanted the square root, so there it is. And what do we want to be in the square root? Well, let's suppose it's x. Now when we apply, we see that square root of x shows up as our text. And that's the end result using the LaTeX formula. This is a feature that would probably be useful again if it was a pre-prepared item or is something you're going to publish on the internet for others to use. It makes it a little bit more complete than just putting the diagram itself. Back to the menu. We can also insert an image. When you choose Insert an Image, you click on the drawing pad, and up comes a somewhat standard menu, and you're going to find an object. You sometimes have to navigate to do that, but I've put a flower image on the desktop. I'm going to select it and open it. Now I want to position it better than that, so I'll simply drag it down onto my drawing pad area. A good application here would be demonstrating some symmetries that we might find in an image such as this. So what we'll do next is go up to our regular polygon tool, and it tells us to take 2 points and the number of vertices. So let's try out symmetry on the petals here. Here's point A, point B, and we need 5. It's a 5-petaled flower. And let's see how well this works. Quite well. If we merely adjust point B slightly, I think we'll find that we have darn near perfect symmetry. And again, this could be applied to areas like symmetry, scale drawing. You could even insert maps and use proportions to find unknown distances on a map. Back to our menu. The last thing we have in this menu is the relation between two objects, and we'll take a look at that. And to do so, I think we probably will want to clear off the screen a bit. So let's back up and get away from our symmetry and get rid of that point. Now let's put in two objects. We can actually take a regular polygon again. And let's put in, let's say 5 sides once more. Now, we'll go back to the toolbox and choose the relation between two objects. Click on point A, click on point B. I missed point B. It tells us that point A and point B are unequal. Let's try clicking on segment A and segment B. It tells us that segment A and segment B are unequal, but segment A and segment B have equal length. Okay. If we try clicking on something like the pentagon itself and point D, it tells us point D lies on pentagon named poly 1. So sometimes it's a useful tool, sometimes it is not. It can be useful if you pre-plan for it. And that concludes a look at some of the extra tools included in the 9th icon as represented on the default display of GeoGebra.